Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. It is currently the 1st of March, 2010, and this is Day 9 Daily number 79. I'm super excited for this show, because I actually did a whole bunch of prep work for it, and a lot of good material when we're talking about Protoss versus Zerg. I have to do a few bookkeeping notes. I actually wrote myself a little list. And the first one is that I haven't slept in 48 hours, so I should make a list or else I'll forget things to say. So it's a good thing I got that done. Check. Also, MLG. Remember those videos that I screwed up and announced they were going to be out early and they weren't? They're out, I think. So I'm making an announcement. You can find it on GotFrag. I theoretically will be making a post after this just to ensure that that gets circulated around quite a bit. There's another thing that I can't remember here somewhere, but yeah. Now I can read my own handwriting. Microsoft Surface, oh my god, part of the reason why I was up for so long, and of course this is going to be a little bit of a coding joke that a lot of people will hopefully enjoy, because hopefully you're nerds like me. I had to stay up late doing a whole bunch of coding, and then I had to go to a meeting at 8 in the morning, so I didn't get any sleep for the meeting. And then right after that, I had to set up this game on the Microsoft Surface, because in one of my classes, we're actually trying to develop some games for it, some cool little applets and that sort of thing. So I had just, it was my turn to go in and work on it in the morning. I thought it would be no big deal. And I thought it was going to be really clever, because whenever you touch the surface, it gives your finger a number. So if you're dragging it around, it will be like ID 47 has this position. So you can do all these interesting things with finger that has the ID 47 in it. So I thought I'd be clever, and I would just stick it in an array at the, location of 47, and I would hold all the information for that. I'm feeling pretty smart myself. Except as it turns out, Microsoft Surface stores data in like an 11-digit number. So when I touched the finger, it was like finger 11 billion. So it created 11 billion minus 1 empty slots on my array. So I immediately ran out of memory and just kept crashing the Surface. I crashed the Surface like 40 times this morning, so it took forever. But thankfully, I finally figured it out. So I have to go in tomorrow morning and sort of repair that. But that's why I now know that the best solution to fixing a Microsoft Surface is the one that lets you get to playing StarCraft 2 as quickly as possible. So I'm here tonight going to talk a little bit about the Protoss versus Zerg action we have going on today. I wanted to try some sort of fancy, aggressive Protoss versus Zerg build, because most people seem to be fast gassing, and there's a lot of replays I've seen where players go one gateway into Cybernetics Core and then get second gateways and do these cool Zealot, Stalker, Sentry pushes, so I'm pretty comfortable with the look of that. I see a lot of it, I've played around with it a little bit, so I thought I want to try something that I know I would enjoy more. I want to try a 2-gate Zealot rush, so I played around with it a little bit and had quite a bit of success with it in Protoss vs. Protoss. So I wanted to try it out in Protoss vs. Zerg, and one of the first games I ended up trying it out against was my brother. I'd had a little bit of success in this game. So this is actually my brother over here. Here's the infamous Tasteless. So we both went random, and we got Protoss vs. Zerg. So in this series, my goal was to start trying to mess around with this Protoss vs. Zerg. Yeah, so I'm like, hey, you're the first person who isn't Tristan who I've played against. I've probably played 100 games with Tristan at this point. Yeah, Nick's like, you'll be way better than me soon. And I was like, yay! He's like so encouraging. I love my brother. I didn't actually rewatch this replay. So I hope there's not any sort of incriminating chat that appears. Because if there is, I can just hit this button. Oh, look, it appears I'm going to be saying something very informative. And then there's, of course, the potentially non-PC things streaming up here. So I was like, yeah, we must train be number 1, 2, and 3. And I was like, yeah, but let Artosis know we're leaving him behind. So I was making a little joke, but I think Nick was asking about my ladder division, so he didn't even see my question. So it just looks like I was doing some Artosis hating, which, I would never want to do. I just want to briefly talk about what my build order is. I'm going to make a pylon. I chrono boosted once to get a Proby out, but then I went dual gateway on 12. This gets you a lot of Zealots really quickly in the original version, but with the new patch, you end up getting gateways in 65 seconds instead of 50 seconds, so it's quite a big difference. So I'm still messing around with it here. This is the first game after the patch I tried it out, so I'm going to blame what happens in this game on that. I actually lose this game, as many of you have seen, that the replay is named Tasteless vs. Day Loss. But see, I saved the Chrono Boost. I didn't use it on any of the probes, and I get to Chrono Boost my Zealots. So look, they come out in pairs. I know how to time these little Fingeringos, and then there, look, I got 50, and if I was a clever bear, I would be chrono boosting both of these. So you'll notice that my money's also being pretty good. I'm just about getting ready to chrono boost them again. So it's probably important that I actually switch over and look at what my brother Nick's doing. He just went for the seemingly pretty standard, getting a spawning pool around 13, getting a gas after that. I think he may have actually gotten his pool a little bit later. I could rewind, but it's not too necessary. And the way he's going to deal with me is he's going to get a whole bunch of Zerglings. So I'm charging up here. I'm trying to pull him back to the ramp, and I do a few screw-ups right here that make me question this build a little bit. This is smart by Nick. He's just getting speed. He's getting more Zerglings. Anytime you don't have the opportunity to like continue with your plan, which for Nick would be expanding, you think about everything else that you want to be part of your build. So, you know, you want some Zerglings maybe for the mid-game. You want Zergling speed. These are all important things to have. So what Nick's going to do is he's just going to get Zergling speed while he's sitting here walled in. And this 300, if there was a good way for him to spend that money, then he would. But at this point, he's pretty much only wanting to build a hatchery right now, and he doesn't really have the opportunity to do that. In StarCraft 1, you could probably get away with just building a hatch here, but because this queen exists, you can't really macro well off 3 hatches, you know, if you were to build one here and one here. So I'm continuing to do my nice solid zealot action, go me! And, you know, I'm gassing, but I'm continuing to add on the zealots, and I'm putting a little pressure on. In my experience, though, I'd never had a player go mass Zergling against me. And I'd never had the experience of having my Zealots take this long to get to his base. Because it's kind of like, it's cross-map, and, I mean, they just extended this build time by 15 seconds, so I don't actually know if I can put any pressure on him. Normally, I can put a lot of pressure on with those first 2 Zealots. But, see, I do something dumb. I had these 4 Zealots here. I should have made a wall right here at the ramp. But instead, I kind of fell back and then moved forward, and look what's going to happen right now. He's just going to surround right now. And honestly, I think if all my Zealots were actually together, even without the ramp, I probably would have held this off really well, but he gets this incredible surround right here. Look at him, just like total confidence, just like the drone's just overlooking everything, like, yeah, I'll be expanding a little bit. So I try to get a little bit fancy here, do a little run back, run forward thing. I don't know if that actually helps. It helps in StarCraft 1, but that is something I'd want to look for in the future. So I'm trying to put a little pressure on here, but then I think I do another mess up. I think I really need to pull back, and then I can do some sort of timing push with gateway, or excuse me, with cybernetics core units. I should actually stop everything, build another assimilator, build another gateway, and sort of start getting more of these gas units with the cybernetics core. Also, I didn't know that pylons could screw you up like this. We see that my workers sometimes go around like that, which is obviously not good. But a big mistake I make is that I'm just like, charge, you know, like, oh, keep going. So, obviously, I think that not losing the Zealots here is a good idea. So I want to avoid losing my Zealots right here. But even then, I don't think I'm in such a bad spot. Right now, notice that my food's at 38, and his is at 33, so I have a little bit of a lead. And in particular, if we go to this unit counter thing, he has only 17 drones, and I have 17 probes. So, whoops, I was at fastest times 3. I actually meant to just close this unit menu. And he's still making a lot of Zerglings because he's aware of this 2-gate pressure I'm doing. But, see, there's no reason to be moving forward here. And what happens is he just kills me again. Right? And I'm just like, what was I doing? Like, this part, this is a violent blunder on my part. Look at it, it's free units. And look, he's at 27 food, and I'm at 27 food, right? I completely sacked my lead. All I have is this poor little sentry to defend, and I'm like, juking him for like 2 seconds, and then we're going to see him pop right up my ramp, and that's going to be obnoxious. So I'm continuing to chrono boost away. And, you know, I'm going to try to do a little bit of micro, but Nick obviously just pops right up. There's a whole lot of the me killing. My sentry explodes. I'm feeling a little bit red-cheeked at the moment. So he goes up here, and I successfully managed to defend myself. I was pretty pleased with my management at this stage. A lot of people would... okay, so I'm not so pleased with my management at this stage. I kind of wanted these Zealots to go here. But they didn't. And then at this stage, this is the part I liked that I did. I went ahead and re-walled my ramp while these Zerglings were in there. It's an important thing to do that, and it's real easy to just, you know, attack, kill this off, especially when there's like 4, 5, 6 of them in there. But 2 Stalkers or Dragoons or wherever they are should be okay. Nick's economy still isn't the greatest. Notice that he got this expansion up, but he didn't quite have enough money to even make stuff out of it. In a sense, I'm seeing that this 2-gate has some potential, you know, even if he does go mass Zergling. So, you know, and again, I had to do all that junk defending my ramp, so I had to make all these extra zealots, so I got this gas a little bit later. And I'm getting the Twilight Council, so I can get the zealot speed upgrade. I'm starting to move out, but then I'm going, why am I moving out? I don't know if I actually have enough stuff, so I'm waiting to get a few more guys, and I'm going to go ahead and be real aggressive again. With warp gates, things pop out of the gateways a lot faster, so build times are shortened with the warp gates. I think that's very important to highlight for a lot of people who maybe haven't played the StarCraft 2 beta yet, don't know those little factuels there. And look at me, go Dragoons, yes. So Nick's doing the good old panic build, throwing down spine crawlers. Oh, but I say panic build not in that he's freaking out at his computer, but it's one of those, oh, you know, my opponent's moving out of his base, I need to build these immediately or else I'll lose sort of thing. So I throw down, I think, probably the worst force field known to man. I probably need to work on that a little bit. Be careful with your force fields, because I've actually been messing these up a lot. Make sure you wait until your stuff's in a really good position. See, what I ideally wanted was for both of these to go down, and for all his Zerglings to be funneled in here, and I would have a nice concave with my Zealots. But I just threw it down at the worst time possible. But I'm still doing a decent amount of damage here, right? I'm getting pretty far up in his face. So, even though I lost my first two big attacks, I almost broke this, right? There was a possibility that I could have broken this. And, you know, he's getting his Spire units up, and I recognize this. So, my plan literally is just to get a big enough army so I can all in. Yep, getting my little add-on-a-roo. Getting more pylons. I don't know why, because I have plenty of food, but that's what I was doing. And I'm warping in a whole bunch of sentries and stalkers, just trying to make sure that I can, you know, manage to deal with air. And Nick's just going for Mutalisks, which in recent times has been doing a really well against Protoss. And see, this is that really smart thing that players with map control will do. This is actually the first thing I mentioned in the original cast I did for StarCraft 2, which is actually a review of Battle Report 2. Whoever has map control should be killing off these destructible rocks. Be really active about it, just for freeing yourself up an extra expansion. Nick just won a huge battle. He's not going to feel defensive. He's going to know that I'm going to need to pull back and reinforce, and he can easily and comfortably take out these rocks. So I'm regrouping for another attack. Again, I'm aware that Mutalisks can possibly come out right now, so I need to make sure that I am super, super aggressive. Because that's really the only way that I'm hoping to hold off these Mutalisks. I clearly don't have a good plan to expand right now. And notice that I said I don't have a clear plan to expand. It's not that there is no virtual way possible for me to expand ever, right? I mean, I just want to say that in this game, I had been having a lot of success in the early stages with this aggressive 2-gate build, and really had not thought through the later stages of the game, which is obviously a big fault on my part, and you know, not to beat myself up too much, but you really should have a plan. But, you know, it is the second game that I had ever really done this against Zerg, and it was the first game I'd done it after the patch, so it's, you know, it's an understandable mistake, but, you know, I don't want anyone to think that there's an excuse for me pretty much devoting myself to all in. Look, I'm even getting a 5th warp gate, which I'm not so sure I can support, and, you know, I'm forgetting Chrono Boost on my Nexus, but I'm going in here again, you know, oh, that's a pretty decent set of force fields. That's what I actually wanted in the first place. I would, you know, ideally like more Zealots back here, but the charge is doing quite a bit of damage, and then I just throw down a bunch of force fields because I can, and it blocks off all my Zealots. Yeah, look at my Zealots, look at that, oh man, easy defense for the spine crawlers there, man. I think I also should have aggressively targeted this queen, but I didn't. And my Zealots are ripping through there, doing a little bit of damage, and getting the queen out. So at this point, it's kind of like, uh-oh, you know, I'm trying to warp in things, but, you know, I don't know if I'm 4 or 5 gates. It strikes me as a little newbie on my part, still not using any Chrono Boost. So I'm pretty much saying to myself, you know, oh yeah, Nick's at 70 food, I'm at 50 food, and I'm just going to go ahead and speed this up. I make one last final push, and he just wanders into my main, and he kills me. I think one thing I should have done is just run with these guys. I should have rallied all my future units to here, but, you know, I didn't really have that much gas. Look, I broke the front. Fantastic. So I go in here and I'm like, all in! You know, just trying to do a little bit of magic, but of course he manages to kill me off. So this game was the starting point for me with trying this build. So just to recap, I did a little bit of early aggression. I lost a bunch of units that I don't think I necessarily should have. I was shocked that the mass Zerglings were able to do that. I actually thought that I would have more units than that. But I'm starting to see a few big patterns. So first of all, when does the first set of queen larvae pop out? How quickly can that first set of 4 larvae appear and then the units finish? And as we're going to see, it's going to be around when I have 5 zealots. I actually adjust the build a little bit, but let's keep that number in mind. Around when I have 5 zealots is when those Zerglings are going to be popping out, or whatever unit he wants to make with those larvae are going to be popping out. So I should probably work on that a little bit. I need to be aware of that. And also, I'm aware that even though I screwed up violently right at the start of the game, not just with losing that first 6 set of zealots, but also with another 6 zealots really badly right after that. Even with those 2 losses, I was still able to put a whole bunch of pressure on my bro. So I feel like there is some strength to this build. I'm seeing that the zealots are very, very, very strong, and I'm actually getting a ton more zealots than a lot of players who are going for the 1-gate fast gas style are getting. And I like that. I like being aggressive. I like being all up in his face. So thus began a whole bunch of games where I was testing this out with my friend Tristan. And I was seeing that if my opponent does go mass Zergling, I can just put a bunch of zealots at his ramp. I'm not actually going to show that game. I'm going to show a series of games that I experienced after that. I walled in his front with zealots, walled in his ramp with zealots, similar to how you 2-gate in StarCraft 1. And he made a whole bunch of Zerglings, and he didn't really have a good economy. And when I had around 12 zealots or so, I just went in and attacked, and I did a ton of damage. And then all of a sudden, Tristan just got roaches really fast, right? Tristan was saying he tried the build out on the ladder, and someone mass roached him and just demolished him. Like, they had roaches by the time Tristan got to the other guy's base. So I was like, oh, well, just, try to do it against me. So we're going to see the effect of those, if I can load it up. There we go. So here's where we're starting to get some real learning going on, right? I'm going to be trying this build a bunch, and I said, Tristan, I want you to go, mass roaches. So he's like, all right, easy enough. And so I am pyloning on 9. One thing I'm not going to practice here that I saw earlier, yesterday we saw Nazgul make a pylon on 8, so that way he could chrono boost very early with his Nexus. I don't know if that's better or worse than a pylon on 9, but I think it's very important that I don't try to fiddle with that while I'm fiddling with the rest of my build. So I just chrono boost away, and so this is what I'm going to be doing, is I'm going to be getting a gate on 12, and then another gate on 13. We're going to see why I stagger that a little bit. Oh yeah, and I have a real hard time lining up my units. I like to have pretty building placement, but you'll notice this orb's a little high, so I want to place the building right there to be next to it, and then like everything's ending up staggered. I'm trying to practice making my base pretty. So hey, I'm seeing Tristan getting his pool, and I want you to notice right now, I'm just 2-gating. I'm just making zealots. So this is my ordinary plan, is just to get a whole bunch of zealots and do a little damage with that, and we're going to see him throw down the Roach Warren right away. And he's going to be building a queen. He's going to get some Zerglings just to basically get me out of his base. And here I am chrono boosting away. Oh, I'm so clever. I'm not missing any zealots. I'm making sure I get my pylons on time. You have to stop making probes every now and again, but I like that because it means that the Protoss can make zealots and occasionally some probes, and theoretically, the Zerg can only be making units out of all these larvae. So here I am coming in, go me, charge, and then it's just like, oh shit, roaches. So now I kind of have to back off, and he's going to end up picking one off, I believe. Yes, he does end up taking one out. So hear that scream. So this was my plan. I was going to make a bunch of zealots early on, and zealots aren't really so bad against roaches, especially once you have speed for the zealots. A lot of zealots can do a lot of damage to a lot of roaches. So I figured that, I would go ahead and just throw on my cybernetics core, and I would keep making zealots. And then I had zealots 6 and 7 on the way. So here's 2, and then here's 2, and here's another. Oh, yeah, sorry, zealots 7 and 8 on the way. But I canceled it and opted instead for a big gas-heavy army. Right? I want to make sure I get those sentries and those stalkers up, because I've already had experience with zealots against roaches in small number, and, you know, 8 roaches or so just tear through zealots. As we're actually going to see right now. Some of you are noting by the progress of the replay meter. And here he comes on in, and because I'm horrible, he gets a bunch of free shots, because I'm on hold position, because I'm really bad. By the way, this is, it's not a bug, it's a feature. If you have your units just standing in a line, and I tell a probe back here to go down here, the probe will push the zealots down the ramp out of the way until the probe can move. Completely the opposite of in StarCraft 1. So I set my units to hold position a lot, which of course demands that I'm focusing on it a lot more and making sure I'm continuing to attack. But look at this. Tristan just does the ever so slightest bit of micromanagement, and I have to run back. And look, my sentries are out now. Or, stalkers. My dragoons are out now. And they get that plus damage bonus for armored, and of course roaches are armored. But I don't really do very much damage. Look, he does a little bit of micro, just targets them one at a time, kills them off. And then I'm just like, uh-oh. So, I have a problem with this build. I have encountered some issues. I throw down some force fields because I can. And don't worry, I actually was on Ventrilo with him at the time, so I said good game there. So what we've seen thus far is that I experienced this this game with my brother, and I thought, this is a pretty good build. You know, I tweaked it a little bit, and then Tristan proposed this mass roach thing, and now I'm actually having a bunch of trouble with it. So it's like, all right, let's keep trying this. What adjustment am I going to make? Well, I noticed I got those stalkers out very late, and that I had about 7 zealots made during this entire time. So I'm going to get only 5 zealots, and we're going to see that 5 zealot timing in this game. I think I actually gate on 11 this game, I want to say. No, I go ahead and do it on 12. In later games, I'm actually getting this on 11. I like getting it faster. I like getting in the Zerg's face. So I'm scouting out and about. Just doing a little perusal here. You know, this is something I should have been watchful for. I should have seen this and then immediately just, you know, whipped around there, noting that Overlord Scout pattern. Or maybe I can't notice that. That's something that I would also want to get really focused on, is if I see this Overlord and I see the direction it's moving in, because I actually saw it here and it was moving kind of downward like this. It would be moving at more of an angle if it were coming right from a hatchery here, so I can probably safely assume that he's at the north position. Just something totally random. Not the point of this. Not the point of this at all. It's all about this 2-gate rush. So I'm testing. And here he goes. He's getting his Roach Warren again. I always want to call it a Roach Warden, which I think sounds way cool. The Roach Police. So here I am, and he's vomiting. Okay, let's just keep an eye on this vomit. And my goal is to get 5 zealots, and then immediately make a cybernetics core and gas up right away. But I think I make the mistake of trying to make sure I get probes up, because my cybernetics core, I think, is a little bit late. So notice that I have about 5 zealots, and if I had about 5 zealots at his front, hey, look, bingo, blammo, blah, there's the 5 hatches right there, or the 5 larvae. So yeah, about when I have 5 zealots, I need to be aware that he could get a whole bunch of extra junk out of these, out of this larva, thanks to this early queen. So here comes the roaches advancing out. Here I have my little zealot wall off, and I get sentries in time, or stalkers in time. I get goons in time. I forget a pylon because I'm awesome. I actually proceed to chrono boost a gateway that has something building in it, even when I'm supply blocked. And I thought I would be okay here, but as it turns out, it was like really one-sided, right? He just waltzed right up here, and there was just not much I could do at this point. I mean, those roaches are strong. I mean, they do 16 damage. They're almost better than a stalker in terms of like damage output. Seriously, like very, very, very strong unit. But of course, not to be deterred, we just kept practicing this, so now I'm like, alright, cool. I am going to try this, getting only 3 zealots. And now I'm starting to think, man, can I get that scout out early enough? Notice that I'm making just a little adjustment. I mean, I'm still doing the same basic thing. I'm still intending on opening 2-gate. In all these games, I've been intent on getting a bunch of gas and a cybernetics core relatively quickly, and then going for something like 3-gate sentry goon zealot. Or should I say sentry stalker zealot, for people who are not as affectionate towards StarCraft 1 as I That's always been my main game plan, but it's just this little adjustment about when do I stop building those zealots. That's where the real cool stuff, the real juicy meat of learning is in strategy games of all sorts. So here I chrono boost, and I'm not so sure I like this chrono boost because notice there's some time afterwards where I'm not actually building anything, but this is when I start going for a gateway on 11 and 12 instead of on 12 and 13. Tristan's doing the identical build in all these games. So I'm continuing to mine away and mine away and mine away. So I'm getting the chrono boost out. Look how cool that timing is. One chrono boosted gateway finishes a first zealot right as the second gateway finishes, as long as you built them on consecutive food counts. So here I am, I'm building, and then when I have 50, I'll be able to chrono boost both of them. So what happens is I scout him, and he's going for a roach ward, and he's not doing any sort of early expand at all, he's just roaching it up. So I'm like, aha, I will go ahead and get a cybernetics core early. I still feel like, why am I waiting that long? Maybe I should just get the cybernetics core and then get these 2 assimilators. That might actually be the much more correct choice to make. But I'm not making any zealots, I'm actually saving up. I'm not making any units, so that way I can get this extra gateway out early. I actually think I juke about a little bit and then just opt to get these units out. Yeah, let's build these guys. Alright, yeah, now I get another gateway out. You know, there's a lot of stuff that I could smooth out of that for that build right there. But I'm still just thinking about this roach rush. So here I am, getting supply blocked again because I'm screwing all this up. So then I'm like, hey, yeah, alright, I managed to hold it off. I lost one zealot because I'm, you know, I hotkeyed my entire army as one control group, and don't get too addicted to that. That's really easy to get addicted to just have one big control group, but be a little careful with that because, you know, I obviously just got punished right now for it. So then I think I managed to throw down another one. Okay, and I get one of these back here. So I'm like, alright, I'm awesome. Hey, yeah. And then he just waltzes right up my ramp and kills me. Yeah, look at that. Look at this. Comes right on up. Uh-oh. So, yeah, alright. How embarrassing. Okay, that's not so good. But I briefly want to just note that in terms of the unit count, Tristan, I think, has only just recently been adding on drones. He has around 18 drones. He's only making them when he actually can't afford a roach. And he's only just now getting an expansion up as well. So part of me is feeling like there's still some nice, juicy stuff to go on here. And the question is, how am I going to adjust it in the future? I actually have more games, so, you know, don't worry too much about it. There's 2 options I saw. One is to get a cybernetics core earlier, get the cybernetics core before I actually get my 2 assimilators, and then try to get sentries and stalkers and another gateway out even faster, and then just constantly be force fielding my own ramp for defense because roaches only have 3 range, and sentries and stalkers both have range, and that's one thing to do. But I was thinking that, you know, I'm getting all this minerals because, you know, I don't have any geysers. Why not just get a forge and cannon and early expand? And so Tristan and I went to test that out. That was the next transition I was going to make. I was going to incorporate some of the timing that I learned from these previous games. And I was going to try to impose it on this little cannoning build that I have right here. So again, just to trace this progression, I lost to my brother, and therefore was super motivated to practice. Oh yeah, by the way, for any of you who don't know what I'm talking about, I always try to beat the auto split. And here I go. Watch my probes, everyone. Let's keep it down and nice and slower. Yeah, let's see what I do. Alright, so first they hang out a little bit. Go, guys. So I click, and then I have 3 of them go here. And then I have 3 of them go in front here. And I'm like, you guys, oh my god. So then I click these 2. But he's still idle. And now he's going. And this is when I, you know, get my big sigh of disappointment. And this is my friend Dan who's observing and just laughing at me. So, the evolution of this is that I lost to my brother. I was motivated to start testing this a lot because I felt like I could have won that game. I was encountering this roach problem, and I started off getting 7, 8, 9 zealots early on, dropped that down to 5, and then dropped that down to 3 and was still having trouble, so I'm going to, therefore, still keep trying this 2-gate, but I'm also going to be looking to go for a forge early on and try to just throw it down at my expo. A lot of people have been getting a pylon here and just building forge right here to hold off roaches, and even though I believe that holds the roach rush off, Roach rushes end up with a not-so-good economy for the Zerg, and it's pretty time-consuming to get a pylon and then a cannon at your ramp, and then have to start building stuff to mount an offensive. It feels not so worth it. It feels like you're not exploiting this economic advantage that you could possibly have. It's a little too passive just to cannon at your ramp. So why not be a little more aggro with it and cannon at your expansion? So here I am, chrono boosting my gateway, Oh, and one thing to note, this is actually super important to note. Why is it that I seem to be so addicted to going for 2 gateways? Why don't I do something like just go back to the fast gas? I mean, I had a kind of a hard time with it in the last few games. Why not just go back to this fast gassing that we've been seeing, or that we've seen before? Well, 2 reasons. First of all, we've seen some bits of truth. We've seen that I put pressure on the economy pretty consistently, even though I can't seem to survive past the 7-minute mark. I feel like if I do survive past that 7-minute mark, there's a lot of fun junk going on later on that I can exploit the shit out of. Yeah, totally awesome. The second and really important thing is this 2-gate has been working really great against everyone who chooses to early expand. I can really get in their face if I 2-gate super quickly like this, saving all my chrono boost for my Nexus. Or excuse me, all my chrono boost for my gateways. Seems really good, right? Why wouldn't I want to do that? Is the question you should ask. And I can't think of a good one. So really what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make this work against one of the possible deviations. And the best way to do it is to make sure you have your things rallied. Because if against someone who goes for pool and then expand, I'm in really good shape. And against someone who just goes expand and then pool and gets a really late queen, so doesn't get that 4 larva boost early on, I'm in pretty damn good shape against that. Why abandon it? All I need to do is figure out all the deviations for like 1 hatch Roach Warren, 1 hatch going for other junk as well, which we'll actually see in a little bit. So here's his queen. I'm trying to do a little damage. I probably could have been more aggressive against this queen, I think. The queen doesn't actually do too much damage. It just does 8 damage, and I didn't want to test that this game. Again, right at the start of this cast, I said that I 9 pyloned, and that I saw Nazgul go for 8 pylon and get a super early chrono boost. Is that good or not? I'll save that for later. Likewise, here, my first Zealot, I don't know if it can rush up and kill a queen. I'm currently trying to test 2 gates straight into a fast expansion. Is that going to work or not? That should be the focus. I shouldn't be trying to do stuff like going to kill a queen, because what if I lose the Zealot early on and I go, oh, I guess I can't kill the queen. And then when I try this strategy, it fails miserably. Was it the fault of losing the first Zealot, or was it the fault of the strategy? You know, you just don't really know. So what I do is I'm able to scout in here. I saw the Roach Warren going down, so I threw down a pylon here. I still only have 3 Zealots here. I'm actually chrono boosting my Nexus a lot, getting a bunch of probes. Again, not sure if that's the best. And I want to note some timing right here. I just built 2 cannons straight away. And we're going to ask ourselves whether that was a good decision or not. So right here, let us pretend that I did not build these cannons. That means, in make-believe land, we have 300 extra minerals here. So 340. So I'm going to speed this up, which means that right about now, in make-believe land, I could have begun a Nexus right here. Alright, let's keep that in mind. So I could have begun a Nexus right here at 105 food, 105 minerals, if I had not built these 2 cannons that cost a total of 300. So this means, as we're sitting here, I just want everyone to stare at this mineral count with me. I want everyone to stare up here with me. Yeah, I build a cannon here, but I cancel it. Right about now, I would have been able to start a cannon. So this cannon would have been able to get started right around when I'm getting my... I would have been able to get this cannon started right around now with this first Nexus having already been constructed. And it's actually a lot more clear in the future game. So we're actually going to see... There's a few timings actually that we need to see here. This is actually going to be a little complicated. So we want to see how long these cannons took to build. Because the question I'm asking right now is, can I get away with building a Nexus before cannons? Can I do that? So I started my cannons at 433. Very important number. Let's go ahead and speed it up. And it's going to finish at about 5:11. So it seems to take 40 seconds. Which means that starting right now, if the roach rush reaches my base at 5 minutes and 50 seconds or later, I know I could have snuck away with getting a Nexus here and then getting these two cannons. So let's actually see that in action. His roaches go the wrong way, but look, his roaches are already over here. This would have given me more than enough time to get these cannons up. Look, only now do the roaches really get there. But meanwhile, in my main, and here's another blunder I made, I'm powering. I'm really not even making any zealots. I'm feeling real comfortable. My pylon actually is a little far forward, and Tristan punishes me for that. So here's my Nexus. Again, this Nexus could have been done long ago. I could have made this first and then gotten these two photon cannons. I get another zealot because I'm like, why not? Going ahead and getting a cybernetics core, and then he just waltzes right up here, kills off the pylon, which is really weak, and then kills me. So I'm like, whoops, grumble, grumble. So I'm going to go ahead and go on to one last game. Again, notice that I have just done pretty much the same build 6 or 7 games in a row that we've seen. There was actually more games than that went on under the hood. This is a, over multiple games, the way that adjustments are being made and the way I'm starting to see, cuter ways to deal with stuff. So I'm going to be yet again opening with my little fancy 2-gate strategy. Oh yeah, see, I hate battling the auto split for workers. I always feel like I'm that good, I'm like, I'm better than the auto split. I can split each one individually. So I've been trying to box 6 and then send 2 here and then send 2 more over here, try to be better. And most of the time it results in me just clicking behind my minerals and delaying my money by a whole bunch. So do not follow my footsteps. Listen to what I say, not what I do. And so I do actually, I've been chrono boosting here. Oh, and actually I canceled that. I canceled that probe, so that way I could just go ahead and stick with my normal build, because a lot of times when I'm talking on Skype or Ventrilo, I'm horrible at playing and I miss all sorts of timings. I have been chrono boosting that first probe, but I'm not so sure if that's good or not. So in this game, I actually didn't do it. I went ahead and just got the Zealot very early on. And already I'm in his base. I'm super eager to be looking for a Roach Warren. Notice that I scouted with this probe after I made my first gateway, and I can get here in time to see a Roach Warren begin. I'm super, super eager to see that building. This is specifically what I'm looking for. A lot of people get their scouting worker into their opponent's base, and they just say, well, I want to know what he's doing. I just want to make sure. I need to know what he's doing, But they don't say what specifically it is, because then what happens is the scouting player sees the Roach Warren, and he doesn't have a plan. He's like, okay, I guess he's going Roach Warren. Well, what's good against that, In this game, I'm saying, okay, I'm going to have this normal build where I go 2-gate Zealot into 3-gate Cybernetics Core with a whole bunch of pressure. Or I'm going to go 2-gate, and if I see a Roach Warren, I'm going to get cannons at my expansion so I can hold off the rush, and then I get an expansion to abuse this economic lead I have. I know what I'm looking for. I know the follow-through I'm going to have. So here I am scouting around here. Chrono boosted these 2 guys. So, I have a lot of Zealots, and I don't think I should be so passive with them. There's no reason not to. I really should be aggressive. I know I need to pull back. I'm imagining in my head 5 Zealots, because notice that, my first 3 Zealots are just now getting here. And this is actually where I was arriving at that 5 Zealot number. Here are the larvae popping off, and if I had 5 Zealots, the 4th and 5th Zealot would be about here. So here I am building 2 cannons. Once again, we're going to see that I have plenty of time to get this Nexus up. I think this is bad. I don't know what it's doing over here. I mean, I really think anywhere but at the far left is better. Anywhere here, even touching here, and these cannons a little far forward, anything like that. Just, I don't know why. I was just in a mood to put it to the left. There was something else I wanted to say about this that I can't remember, so, no big deal. I also am aware that I only had 4 or 5 Zealots in that last game where I lost to the Roach Rush, so, I want to be aware about that. So once again, notice that he is leaving in his base at around 4 minutes and 40 seconds, 4 minutes and 50 seconds, so my cannons are more than close enough to being done. And see, here's these 4 larvae from the Queen, just now finished, so he's able to get a whole bunch of roaches at my front. He actually inadvertently made 2 overlords, I remember him saying that to me, but, still basic idea applies, where he can rush out here really quickly, and the bulk of his units can only get there so fast. So I have my little idle guy here, and I go ahead and make this. So I'm going to be teching, but I'm not going to be teching so quickly. I actually build yet another cannon, because I think I actually need 3 cannons. Sweet pokes in there. I think I might kill off 2 roaches. I think these 2 roaches just go marching in. So I mean I kill it off pretty easily, but even so, I'm more than able to deal with this. And I think this is a really good idea to be building these buildings in front. I might even build like a gateway in front if I could get away with that. I might even start 2-gating at my ramp, intending to build photon cannons behind to deal with roach rushes. And here I am, and I'm pretty much going to be able to hold this off. And this really wasn't too close. You know, I got the extra zealots up, and he tries to come in here, but... I mean, so imagine for a moment if he did actually have 2 more roaches, it would really still not be so close. So I'm like, hey, yeah, alright. I'm starting to feel a little bit comfortable with it. We're not actually going to watch the remainder of this game. You know, this is getting a little tense, which is part of the reason why I'm thinking I maybe want to 2-gate at my ramp in the future. We're not actually going to watch the remainder of this game because I actually butcher it and almost lose with my huge lead, but I have a ton of probes. But hey, cool. Not only did I learn that I could early expand, but I could also hold off this roach rush and get my nexus up before I built the cannons, if I'm only building 3 zealots after this 2-gate. Kind of sounds like a mouthful, but it's very useful to see how much evidence I have for this build, how much evidence I have for this being a strong play. Too often players will do something once and be like, hey, that feels pretty good, this is the strategy to beat, and then they will do another strategy completely different, and whether it works or not, you know, they'll be like, oh, you know, whatever, I still have that good strategy in my book. They don't quite play it again and again and again and again and again and try to get every little thing right in the build. And a lot of people, because they winged a build once and it worked out kind of good, they don't keep these numbers in their head like 3 zealots or 3 cannons. Or cannons have 7 range and roaches have 3. So if I build a building that has width 4, width 3, I could be able to shoot the roaches with my cannons and he would have trouble getting up to me. You know. So all those are very important numbers to keep in mind. So I'm playing against this Mezzo gentleman. This is actually my first ladder game. Oh my god. So I always announce my race at the start. Yeah, I actually explained it here. I said I spawn Protoss, but I play random. Because I don't want to be random. I just want to play all the 3 races, right? I want to reveal my random. That's why I hope Blizzard implements some sort of reveal random where you can choose random, but then it auto-selects a race for you in the countdown menu. So that way you can just see it. Otherwise, I'll just, you know, flip a 6-sided die before my matches. So I'm scouting this out. I'm aggressively looking for some sort of roach opening. And, you know, again here, I'm aware that this is probably not the best placement. I mean, look, I'm basically maximizing the distance. Really, the question is, why not build 2 gateways here and then have a nice little tiny choke? No reason. I'm just not trying to test that right now. So here I am. I'm wandering around here. I'm noticing, hey, I haven't seen him gas yet. Maybe he'll be going for an early expansion. I would love to play against an early expander. I would be delighted to do so, in fact, with my super hardcore Zealot Rush. Again, I've done all this practicing. I have all these plans in mind, and now I'm playing against a real player. Notice I'm constantly circling here because I'm looking for that Roach Warren, or as I like to call it, Roach Warden. I poked up here a little bit to see if he was expanding. I'm very aware that that's a possibility with my Zealot. I have that Mass Ling scenario in my head because I played against my brother with that, and he did a lot of damage to me in that regard. I have all these things that I'm specifically thinking of for this game. So I poke forward, and then I end up pulling back. Zealot puts up a pretty damn good fight against 4 Zerglings, so that's something I need to get used to, because I'm not quite used to that number, thanks to StarCraft 1, where 3 Lings beat a Zealot. And there I am, dragging the viewer window away. There we go. Ah, fantastic. It's actually a little off-center. There we go. So here's my thingaroos. And hey, look, I'm doing what I said I wanted to do against Nick, which is to wall that ramp in. But then something happens here that I actually didn't experience, which is I don't actually know what he's doing. I mean, I'm poking in here to get a count on his Zerglings, because I'm aware that I lost a bunch of my stuff when I had around 5 Zealots, and as we're seeing right now, that's right around the time that all his Zerglings popped. I'm actually going to rewind this just a little bit so we can all see that in action. So you hear my 3 zealots. Yeah. And then see here his larva popping off. There they pop out. Here's my 5th zealot. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is see I poke forward. I see that, and then I'm going to run back. Because look, these Zerglings haven't hatched yet. That's that 5 zealot timing that I was talking about earlier on. Look, it almost makes me look like a hacker, right? I'm able to move forward, and then I'm able to waltz right back, knowing that I'm safe and sound, because these Zerglings haven't popped yet, so I can just go ahead and re-wall myself up here at the front. But I'm kind of like, alright, cool, wow, I got to this stage in the game, I'm so clever, and then I'm just like, god damn it, why don't I have a plan? Like, I don't know what to do if he's going Bailings or Roaches, and I see this hatch morphing into a layer, and I was kind of like, oh my goodness. And, oops, let me go ahead and resume it here. Go, march on, Zealots. And, you know, I'm having 9 Zealots. This is a lot of Zealots. I still have them coming, you know. I'm even chrono boosting. I've only just now gotten the gas. And this is a lot of Zealots. So, this is a good amount to move forward in my practice with Tristan. This is when I was able to sort of bust in there and do a lot of damage with this, this Zealot versus big Zergling force. But he has Banelings, which dealt a ton of damage to my guys. I'm still going to push forward a little bit because I'm confident in the strength of my Zealots. I should be pulling right and then up. Go, Zealots. So then I'm kind of like, Jesus, I don't actually know what is up right now. So I have no issue, I have no qualms just sort of retreating back here. I actually think I should have canceled these Zealots after I saw those Banelings and just begun teching right away because I have messed up his economy quite a bit. Again, notice he actually has a pretty decent amount of drones there right now, but he's still stuck on 1 base, and I think that the 1 base Protoss in this game is quite strong. And he's pretty much going to have to keep making a lot of units in order to stay in there. I really think I should have gotten another gateway a little bit earlier here, because, you know, look how many Zealots I have. I have like 14 Zealots or something insane here. Alright, well, I guess it is closer to just like 10 or so, but it sure felt like a lot. I sure felt like a superstar. So as I was retreating, I sent a probe out because I want to keep an eye on this expansion. I saw that layer, and I remember freaking out at first and going, oh my god, I need to worry about air, so I was actually wasting a ton of chrono boosts on these gateways. Oh, tons of panic. But then I was like, wait, he's going for 1 base Mutalisk. He's not going to have enough gas to deal with my relatively cheap gas army, which is pretty much going to be a bunch of stalkers popping out. So I see his thing, and I'm like, yeah, get out of here. Get out of here, you overseer. He's like, was that in range of a building site? And I was like, haha. And I was like, no, I just remembered it. Feeling clever. And look, I have a little bit neater of a building placement. It's a little bit more organized. How visually pleasing. So he still hasn't really expanded. And that's part of the issue, is that even though we were relatively close in terms of worker count, even though I was at around 19 and he was around 17, Zerg always has to make that decision. Am I going to make workers with my larva, or am I going to make units? So I have the opportunity to be able to make as many probes as I want, just one at a time, while still being able to pump out a pretty damn big army. So I'm not so sure. I don't actually remember how this game went out. And then I was like, oh yeah, I need to build this thing here, because I keep forgetting about these rocks here. I'm also keeping these stalkers here because I want to be aware of Mutalisks when they pop in. I'm actually keeping my other ranged units kind of spread out here. I actually think it would be smarter to have my guys just right here instead of 2 guys out here. I think it's just general disorganization on my part. Still trying to poke in, keep an eye on this. And I was really happy because I poked into the Baneling and I got him to suicide there. Look how many Zealots I've had this whole time. I haven't made like any Zealots really. And something went weird. I'm at 59 of 82. Why did I make so many pylons? Why do I keep clicking this thing over? Yeah, so I'm thinking right now, yeah, 82 minus 8 is going to be 74, and then minus another 8 is going to be 66. So I could have had an extra $200 and still not been supply blocked. And I didn't know changelings existed, alright? This is still me trying to learn. I'm like, is that your guy? Because I was going to kill it. So I shoot him down. Now I get the warp gates up because I really want to start putting pressure on. This is This force I don't think needs to be this big. This composition I like, but this is why I've said multiple times, wow, I really don't need that many zealots, because I really think I just could have done a ton of damage as is. And notice that I'm getting it right around the time that his hatchery finishes, so he only just now would have had the opportunity to start using the larva that pops out of here, you know, exploit all these extra drones, make use of them. Instead, I move forward with my range units going in first, because I'm terrible, and look, I have more melee units in the back. And I'm actually going to slow this down, because I personally want to see, how did I control this battle? I think I put some good force fields down here. Oh yeah, I saw the banelings, so first I'm going to cast this one, because I want to have a smaller concave for his units. Notice that it's a little wider down here. I want to keep it narrow. But then I just see the banelings, and I just sort of go, ah, and I just spam F and try to just block them off. And I pretty much surround him. Do a little damage control. I think I would have preferred to put him in front, and it would shift my stalkers back quite a bit. But, you know, it would enable me to defend it. And here I am, killing everything off, feeling awesome. And speeding things up. And yeah, and look how many zealots I still had left over at the end. I had so many zealots. This queen pops up, and I'm like, I don't think so, queen. So, alright, cool. I got to put my learning into practice, and I got to kind of get this cool Stalker-centric zealot army. I got an expansion up. I'm still only on 3 warp gates. Actually, just noticed that they do that little swirly-whirly doohickey right when you morph things in. Cool little things going on graphically. So I'm staying down to 3 warp gates. This allows me to slowly build up money so that I can get a nexus, and I'm continuing to make a nice little sentry zealot stalker reinforcement thing here. Probably would prefer a few more stalkers here, but you know, from here it's pretty much clean up. There's really not much that he can do. And notice how he didn't really have enough mutalisks to threaten this stalker sentry combination, because he was on one base for so long. So I think that's something that I want to be increasingly less concerned about in future matches. So we've been going for almost an hour now. I'm just going to briefly take a handful of questions in the chat. Just grab one of the random good ones, and then we'll wrap this one up. Once again, the MLG matches between Artosis and Louder, those videos are up on gotfrag.com. I am almost certain. I'm actually going to double check right now. And yes, it is on gotfrag.com/StarCraft2. So yeah, if you guys want to check those VODs now, they exist. They are out, they are up. So let's go ahead and remute the chat and just pause, so that way we can take some good questions. So, Prodigy says, Day 9, in your ladder game versus the Zerg, do you think it would have been viable to tech to Void Rays while you had his ramp blocked? That's another thing to think about. But again, that wasn't really my plan. What I like to do is have some future goal that I'm trying to get to. So, for instance, it would be a Stalker, Sentry, Zealot army. That's my sort of middle plan, and I want to figure out ways to get to that, right? It's very easy to say, I'm in this position, what are all my possibilities? And yeah, I could have gone Void Rays, I could have expanded as well, there's no reason I couldn't do it. It works versus roaches, it should obviously work there. I could have continued to do this strategy. I could have teched a robotics facility and gone for Immortals and tried to just bust in there a lot earlier. There's a lot of options I have, but that's the stuff I want to explore later. First, I want to see how I can play around with the openings and the styles to get to a strategy I know and like, which is that Zealot Stalker Sentry combination. Someone says, Day 9, how do you keep your hair so fabulous? I don't really think I look so fabulous today. In fact, I feel downright haggard, because I've been awake for quite some time, as the checklist would remind me to tell my viewership. So let's see here. So Kadrid, oh, great questions. You have a lot of emphasis on remembering and comparing numbers when referring to a new build. Aside from memory and replays, what resource do you use to help drill these figures into your brain? 2 things. First of all, pen and paper. You know, I actually had a notebook, just like a big spiral-bound notebook for StarCraft 1, and I would just write little StarCraft notes in there. And a really good technique is, if you have a little notebook for it, put a table of contents at the back, you know, so that way you can be like, on page 2, I just wrote random shit about Zerg vs. Terran and all this stuff. And then you can actually have a really easy way, you know, after a month, you kind of come back, sit down, and say, oh, I sure learned a lot. Then you open up your notebook and say, oh, a month ago, I wrote down that I should try this timing, and I haven't tried it yet. I think it would actually come in really handy here. So that's an obvious, easy way to do it. And the other thing is that I actually live about 2 miles away from where I go to school, and I don't own a car or a bike, so I have to walk there every day. So I use that time to review all the things that I have thought about, create some more scenarios in my head, create more questions I have that I want to practice, and it also gives me the opportunity to exercise at the same time. Therefore, I will be a thin, handsome nerd. And by the way, if any of you haven't checked it out, you should go to thehandsomernerd.com. It's my brother's t-shirt site. He actually didn't ask me to plug, but I'm plugging because I think his t-shirts are funny and awesome, and I own one. Yeah. So Dino says, "Hey Day9." Hello, Dino. On the matter of a 2-gate rush, how do you feel about rushing 2 warp gates and building a proxy pylon somewhere outside their base with your scout? I feel pretty good about it. Not to spoil anything, but check out the Louder vs. Artosis matches. The issue I have with that is that with the 2-gate rush I'm doing, it takes so much money just to keep the zealots and the pylons and the probes pumping out early. I don't have enough money to get the cybernetics core and to get the geyser out to do some sort of sneak push with the pylon. I might do a slightly later push, but it didn't really seem to integrate well into what I was doing right now. Once I'm feeling really comfortable with what I'm doing right now, that's when I'll branch out and I'll check out some of those sorts of strategies. So to answer it really quickly, I think it's awesome, but I know nothing about it. So I'll just sort of leave it at that right now. I'll answer this for Lampy. Lampy says, "How do you like the Microsoft Surface? Have you worked with games for it? It will be viable for mass use." I don't know how to comment on it right now because I'm trying to get Unity hooked up to it, and my code's still crashing because it takes a gigabyte to assign one variable to an array. So I probably shouldn't comment too much. I will say that it looks like a giant iPhone. So that's... I just hope that my game ends up working on it, so it'll be a lot of fun. But it's definitely fun to sort of touch stuff and to have things actually happen as a result of that. So let us see here. I like this. Noru says, "Day9, hi, I'm in the Platinum League. I've played about 200 games, and I'm wondering how you feel about the Roach being a 1-supply unit currently." And before I finish reading the rest of that, I want to say that this definitely relates back to my struggles that I was having in 4 or 5 of the games that I showed today. I just kept losing again and again to Roach rushes. So, Noru continues, "Considering the cost of the unit and the general beefy nature of it, I want to resist the urge to scream imbalance. But when I watch a replay and watch my Stalker Zeal Sentry army at 80 supply consistently lose to a Zerg at 50 supply out in the open, it's pretty frustrating. With it still being too early to make a decision about them, do you think that there is at least cause for concern about roaches in the current state?" I actually don't. I actually have very, very few concerns about it. What would concern me is 2 months of people still just going roaches and just winning. For comparison, let's think back to StarCraft 1. Pretend that StarCraft 1 has just come out, but that gamers are of aware as skills as they are right now. So for instance, with StarCraft 2 out, I'm aware that I can micro units, and I'm aware that I can move back and forth and be really, really obnoxious with units and that sort of thing. Think about how the Vulture would feel in original StarCraft. I'm sure a lot of players would just rush for Vultures and be able to pick off every single Zergling that the Zerg made, would be able to pick off a lot of the Zealots and outrun it and still be able to kill a lot of probes, and players would scream imbalance for a little bit there. Similar to how people have been doing it for Reapers. When in reality, Vultures in StarCraft 1 die really quickly, and you can defend them, but you need finesse to do so. Same thing with Reapers. Reapers can jump into your base, you can't even block your ramp. You need to move an army around. And I've really had no trouble with that because I've built that skill up and it feels normal. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, please Reaper harass. Waste your money trying to Reaper harass me at this stage in the game. And I think that it's going to require a lot of comfort for the lower level players to build that up. And once they do, I think everyone will be like, oh, Reapers, I'm comfortable with them, they feel good. And you're probably saying, but Deo asked about roaches. Haha, continuing on to that. With roaches, it seems to me that is a standard strategy, right? Just getting a whole bunch of roaches. It does seem to get in the way of the economy quite a bit for Zerg. Zerg can't make drones during this period of time. They cost 75 minerals and 25 gas, which means it's pretty pretty decently expensive, so it becomes harder to get your expansion up in time. So in my eyes, it reminds me a lot of getting a really big Hydralisk army, which happened a lot at the start of StarCraft 1, and people were just like, Hydralisks are BS. They shoot ground and air, they shoot fast. My Zealots don't have speed. My Dragoons, they don't have any sort of... They take full damage from Hydralisks, and I can't seem to win against it. And it's because Protosses were moving out with Zealot Dragoon armies, instead of hanging out, getting Templar, setting up an expansion with cannons, dealing it with those sorts of ways. So it's really important never to confuse something that's strong with something that's imbalanced. Big armies in Terran vs. Zerg, that big mid-game push, that Medic Marine Tank Vessel push, players can use that and get to A- and A on PG Tour, on Icy Cup, still call it PG Tour. They can get to the A level doing that same mid-game push every time. Is it imbalanced? No, everyone just calls it standard. But if you were playing against someone for some of your first times ever, you'd go, that's bullshit. I literally can't beat it. So I have full confidence that players will be able to work around the roach thing, and after a while, people, they won't call roaches weak, awful strategies. They'll just call it a nice, solid, easy thing to do. So I'm not too worried about it at this stage in the game. Again, never, ever, ever, ever believe in imbalance. I do not believe in imbalance. Sure, the imbalance can exist, but I don't believe in it. I believe in practice, and I believe in fine-tuning. And I believe that with enough fine-tuning, even if there was some imbalance, it doesn't even matter, because you can have confidence with all these little subtle details and get the advantage anyways. So you know what? I think that was an inspirational quote to end the Day 9 Daily on. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. This is probably one of my favorite shows that I've done, because I got the opportunity to show how I was losing again and again and again and again and again, and none of it was this horrible, obnoxious experience. None of it was me just getting bummed out and going, oh, I suck. I always knew what it was I was trying to do, and every loss was an arrow pointing me in the right direction. And at the end of the day, I have a really solid Protoss vs. Zerg out of it. I'm feeling really happy about it. So 8 more matchups to go. Awesome. Tune in tomorrow. I'll be on at 7 p.m. Pacific, and I will be doing a StarCraft 1 game, actually, of Quanro vs. Flash on Roadrunner. Holy Jesus, it was an unbelievable game. So, yeah, hope you all tune into that, and thanks so much for watching. Cheers!